Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Michael Breus, the sleep doctor. Sleep trackers can give us incredible insight into information about our sleep. When I work with patients, one of the first things I do is assign them a wearable sleep tracker so I can see at the physiological level what might be happening with their sleep. And let's be honest, some of the information these trackers can give us can be a bit overwhelming. But I do think if you interpret the data correctly, there can be some really actionable insights if you know what to look for. So how accurate are these sleep trackers, especially when compared to a full night's sleep study? Let's be fair. If I've got you in a lab and we attach 27 electrodes to you, have respiratory belts and a camera on you, we're going to get a lot more accurate data than a ring or a watch or a wristband that's probably only picking up 3 to 4 data points. So I always want people to understand that there is a bit of inaccuracy in these trackers. The good news is the algorithms seem to be getting better and better. And now there are even studies comparing trackers to full nighttime polysomnography. So if you're in the market for buying a tracker, make sure that it's been compared to an overnight sleep study. Now, trackers also will look at something called sleep onset. This is one of my favorite things to look at because this is what most trackers are really good at. They can usually do a great job of being able to figure out when you fall asleep and when you wake up. Staging can be a bit different, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But looking at when you fall asleep and when you wake up and the consistency of that becomes a very critical component of your overall sleep. The next thing I look for is the number of awakenings that you have. Now, what does this tell us about our sleep quality? Well, the more awakenings, the less sleep quality that you have. Also, the length of awakenings and where they are in the night can make a really big difference to your overall sleep quality. So I oftentimes tell people, look at these awakenings. If they're longer than 5 minutes and they have a tendency to spread throughout the night, you could be looking at a sleep disorder or a significant sleep problem, and you want to talk with your doctor about that. Finally, I pay attention to sleep stages and how long you're in each stage. But I gotta be honest with you, most trackers are not particularly fantastic about the accuracy in these stages. So what I have a tendency to do here is, I don't think I really care if you only got 13 minutes of deep sleep, but if you consistently get 13 minutes of deep sleep, then I know that the tracker is being consistently inaccurate. Here's where it gets interesting is if you got 13 minutes of deep sleep one night and then 300 the next and then 200 the next, I want to look at the differences and what behaviors you did on those nights in particular to increase those stages. So again, you're not looking at the definitive number, but more the trend that's going on. Now, a sleep tracker only honestly tells us part of the story about your sleep. Think about how you feel when you wake up. I'd like to tell my patients to create a sleep diary along with their trackers. So you're kind of collecting data in 2 different ways. And I want you to look at these different things. What time do you think you fell asleep or lights out? Take a guess for how long it took you to fall asleep. Now, to be fair, I don't want you looking at the clock. I want that to be a guess the next morning. How many times you woke up throughout the night and for how long? And then what time you woke up? And then, of course, your overall sleep quality. All of these questions can be answered the next morning. Then you can compare your tracker data to your diary data and start to understand what's going on. I always recommend that you bring all of this information to a qualified sleep physician to discuss your results. Now remember, sleep trackers can offer some incredible insights into your sleep if you just know how to interpret the data. And if you're interested in some of my tips for getting back to sleep in the middle of the night, then be sure to check out my video on that right here. This is Dr. Michael Breus, the sleep doctor, wishing you sweet dreams.